territories around the world are still under colonial rule, which impacts how they can govern themselves and what rights they have. Over the past 100 years, many people from these areas have moved to places like the United States, looking for better opportunities. The College Board stimulus, Migrant Mother, taken by Dorothy Lang, shows a mother of 7 who moved to America and worked as a pea picker. Families are constantly trying to find new opportunities like she did, and an example of this are Puerto Ricans immigrating to the United States. A large wave of Puerto Rican migration arose as a result of the Great Depression and 2 huge hurricanes that hit at the start. These 3 photos are just an example of how Hurricanes San Felipe and San Ciprian impacted housing and the environment. More recently, in 2015, the Puerto Rican government declared bankruptcy due to mismanagement of loans and accumulation, which led them to be $70 billion in debt. The graph shows Puerto Rico's debt increase over time, increasing by $65 billion in only 56 years. 2 years later, Hurricane Maria hit, which caused over 130,000 people to move to the United States. This brings up the question, to what extent has the U.S. government and Puerto Rico's status as a territory impacted the island and its people? The U.S. government holding Puerto Rico as a territory has negatively impacted them by not allowing them to be self-sufficient, have unequal access to healthcare affecting people's health and economy, and environmental impacts are not well supported. Good afternoon, or morning, I don't know. My name is Bianca San Antonio. These are effects of post-colonial rule in Puerto Rico. First off, Puerto Rico is not sovereign because they are still under federal rule. According to Andy Euler, a reporter and journalist, President Woodrow Wilson signed in the Jones Act on March 2nd in 1917, which had put restrictions on how Puerto Rico traded and made consumer goods more expensive for people living on the island. The Jones Act later resulted in foreign aid being delayed in times of need, such as Hurricanes Ian, Irma, and Maria. This would not have happened if Puerto Rico were able to trade without pre-approval from the United States. Another thing is that Puerto Ricans are unable to participate in federal voting elections. When comparing 2 U.S. territories, Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C., the latter is granted with the right to vote due to the 23rd Amendment. However, both of these territories do have shadow congresspeople, and their purpose is to try and convince Congress to make a certain territory a state. If Puerto Rico's shadow congresspeople were to succeed, then the island would receive the same benefits as the other states, such as $12 billion in federal funds. Healthcare also isn't easily accessible. Medicaid was granted to Puerto Rico in 1966, but when comparing funding from Puerto Rico and the states, it is limited by 70%. These 2 graphs are from Medicaid.pr.gov, and they show the amount of people that are eligible from all types of Medicaid from February and March. The number of people that are eligible has increased by 28,000, and this is only this just shows the improvement that has been made in 1 month. When in communication with Dr. Jose Coron Grau, a licensed emergency medicine doctor and government official, he mentioned that health was becoming an issue on the island because people were unable to pay for their health. Consequently, because of this, doctors are leaving to work on the mainland because they're being offered a more preferable pay and they have better access to resources to be able to help their patients more. This graph shows a small portion of healthcare workers that are leaving the island over a span of 10 years. So the total amount that are actually leaving the island is going to be so much more. Environmental impacts. Environmental damage is not supported by the government. For 60 years, the island off the east coast of Puerto Rico, Vieques, was used as a military base for testing and for weapons testing, such as missiles and bombs. According to the U.S. Government Accountability Office, the Department of Defense started cleanup of their military presence in the mid-2000s and had effectively gotten rid of their physical residue that had been left behind. Whilst there had been an effort to clean up the island after the military was done, many effects could not be reversed. The Jones Act also interferes with help from foreign nations, as stated before. Bucky Buehler, a senior editor and journalist, acknowledges the fact that the United States government had been slow in providing aid to those affected by Hurricane Maria. She also mentions international NGOs such as Save the Children, International Medical Corps, Mercy Corps, and the Oxfam International provided immediate aid in the form of water filters, solar lanterns, meals, generators, and hard cash. These can be seen as temporary solutions while the people of Puerto Rico wait for help that was promised by their government. The U.S. government provided help too late because even though in the end there was some sort of aid from them, international non-government organizations and non-profit organizations came across the world, came to their help, aid. And these are physical residue images left on vehicles. There are 3 solutions and limitations. Independence, which is an option for the island, which would lead them to have full control over the country in the future and would control all U.S. regulated sectors, but they would have less U.S. aid, no protection, no voting or running in U.S. politics, and there would be a higher cost of imports. Now, if they were to go into statehood, they would be able to vote in electoral college. They would have equal representation in Congress, potentially better quality of life, and more access to job and trade market. But they would have federal taxes, more United States involvement, potentially less autonomy, and could lead to the loss of Puerto Rican culture. Or they could stay the same, which would be easier migration to and from the mainland, and income made on the island is exempt from federal taxes. But the island would still be dependent on U.S. aid, tourism, and other resources. Thank you.
All right, 2 questions for you. First question. What evidence did you gather that you didn't use?
At the beginning of my research, I did gather a lot of sources and stuff, and a lot of evidence that I thought I would use, but when I was forming my research, it seemed that the evidence did not hurt, but I can't think of the specific evidence.
Okay. And how does your conclusion, or solution, I guess, really, respond to any of the other research that you found from other people?
Well, I mean, since there are various options to what could be done to solve these problems, it really depended on the source and what exactly their view of the future for Puerto Rico could be.